about Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond. I'm talking about our wives who have kindly decided to join us today. And the idea of this is just to get their perspective and their experiences of what they've been through while we've been going through our cancer, and it's all very much about the patient. It certainly feels very much it's always about the patient and put the patient first and that kind of thing, but there's a bigger impact that goes on to family members and stuff like that. So we've got the three wives. So we've got Kelly. Hiya, Kelly.
Hello.
Hello. How are you feeling? You okay?
Yes, all good, thank you.
Marvellous. Good stuff. So you're married to Andy. Then we've got Jackie.
Hi, Aid.
Hello. How are you, Jackie? You okay?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Is Darren behaving himself?
A little bit.
And then I've got my beautiful wife as well. We've got Amy. You there, Pickle?
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Can you sound a bit more enthusiastic?
You're not in punching distance, are you?
I was just wondering why he was calling me his beautiful wife. I wondered what he'd done wrong.
Yeah. So, I just thought I'd start off by just asking you all sort of individually about when you first found out about the diagnosis, when you first found out about it, how did you feel, and what was that experience like? I mean, shall I start with you, Amy, and just
yeah, okay,
and we can talk about. So, I'm trying to remember when I got diagnosed. It was in the hospital, wasn't it? And I got my dad to ring you because I didn't want to upset you. Yeah. Which I wish I'd had rang you now. But if I remember rightly, you kind of thought I'd got it before then, but didn't tell me. Is that right?
Yeah. I kept asking you to go to the doctors. You woke up in the morning with a swelling in your groin area, and I said to you, right, you need to go to the doctors. So you went to the doctors, and I was at work that evening, and you phoned me and said that the doctor was going to send you to Stoke Hospital because he thought you had appendicitis. And then straight away I knew that it wasn't appendicitis because nobody can be ill for that long with appendicitis. So I knew that I felt like it was something serious. So I left work and came up to the hospital to you. I think Dad was with you. And basically, I remember they were examining.
Oh, you got a bit of echo there, Darren. A bit of interference. Oh, that's better.
Is it on mine with it? I might come off my phone.
Okay, mate.
Yeah, I'll come off my phone there because I think it's clashing with Jackie's phone.
Okie dokie, matey.
All right, bud.
Okie doke.
Yeah, so I think they said if you were younger, they'd put you through a CT scan, and I just thought, well, why would they do that? And I just thought, I just had a bad feeling about it, and I thought that it could be cancer. But they said they were going to do an ultrasound on you, and that night I had to leave you in the hospital. I came home that night. You texted me, I think it was something like 3:00 in the morning, and you said that they decided to put me through the CT scan, and I just burst into tears. I just knew that you had cancer. I didn't say anything to you, but I just knew that you had cancer. I just felt like, that's what he was trying to get at when he said it, because he kind of said it like an open statement type of thing. And I just felt inside that I knew that it was cancer, really. And the next day, like you say, you got your dad to phone me, which I wasn't impressed with at all, but I've got over it now. But so that's how I found out. Obviously, you had cancer.
Yeah.
And
because we didn't know what type at that stage, did we? We just knew it was a cancer, and they were.
We had to go for a meeting and talk with some nurses and the consultant. I remember your dad and Glenys was there. That's your stepmom.
Yeah.
And we spoke in a room, and they said basically that this is what it is. This is what we're going to do. And I remember you saying, as long as I can go to the Easter egg hunt at my dad's house. And I was like, Aid, I think your treatment's more important. And you were like, no, I'm going to the Easter egg hunt and I'll come back for my treatment. So that's what was planned, that after Easter you were going to start your treatment.
So we did do the hunt, and I can't even remember that.
Yes, we did do the hunt. We did do that.
Right, so I got my priorities all right then.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So
First.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was. Yeah. So that's how I found out about it. How I felt. Well, I just felt like my whole world had been tipped upside down, really, and I felt like I was going to lose you, and it was extremely hard. I become like a single mom, really. You know, I had to juggle everything, and I think the hardest thing was telling the girls on my own, because you had to stay in hospital, and I had to tell the girls that their dad had cancer. And at the time, Lucy was 13.
So she just started high school. She hadn't been in high school very long, had she?
And Libby was in the last year of primary school, so she was 11. And yeah, it was extremely hard to tell them, not only tell them, but only be able to give them the answers that I'd got, because I couldn't tell them if you were going to get through it. Obviously, I said, you know, the doctors are going to do everything they can to get you better, and you know, the medication out there is amazing. But to try and tell them that, it was extremely difficult, really. So I think that for me was the hardest thing to deal with to start with. But then I think after, you know, we'd done that, it was just trying to balance everything, really, you know, because we wanted the girls to still stay in school and still have their education and their routine, which was hard on some days, but we managed, I think most days they were in school. So that was hard. And then I'd come and see you. So you were in Stoke and we were in Stafford. So it was like a half an hour journey there and back. So I'd come and see you and then go and get the girls and then, yeah, and run around the house crazy. And then I'd come and see you with the girls. I think just trying to juggle everything and be there for the girls, but also try and keep my emotions. I didn't have time to cry, and that was one of the hardest things for me, because it builds up so much. And I couldn't come home with the girls and cry because I had to be strong for them because they were so young, you know. So I found it really difficult that I couldn't just cry. And because Libby was dealing with it, I wouldn't say worse than Lucy, but they have different ways of dealing with it. And obviously our youngest has had health anxieties and everything from this, which we're still going through now. But I couldn't even have my bed to myself because she wouldn't sleep on her own. And so I never had that space just to cry and let it out, really.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I found the hardest with that, really.
And I suppose in that situation, we deal with everything together, don't we? So you would want to go through this with me, but then I couldn't be there. And that was really frustrating because I knew how difficult it was for you, and I was stuck in the hospital, and I knew that you were having to do all this stuff with the girls. And
and I think also when the person's going through treatment, they're so drugged up that at that particular time I didn't really feel like I had a husband, because it wasn't like you'd go in and visit and have a chat, and you know, it was you just really being drugged up, and then you'd wake up and you got a lot of infections from it as well. Towards the end, when they said you had the all clear, and we thought this is great, you got sepsis, so we had to deal with that, and you were in hospital for a good 3 weeks with that. And yeah, it was really hard because even though you were there, you weren't there, if you know what I mean, because you were so drugged up and poorly, poorly, that I didn't really have you if you know what I mean, like I do now,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So it is very much like you'd go and visit and you might get a couple of sentences and you'd fall asleep and I'd just stay with you and, you know, for however long, for whatever you needed and things. But yeah, it was difficult because I think the one thing I felt, even though my family were amazing, I felt extremely lonely, because I didn't have you like here helping out with things and stuff. But yeah, I felt extremely lonely through it all, even though I'd got family that were always with me and everything. Yeah, I just felt extremely lonely through it all, really.
God. And it's really good because we've never really talked in this much detail about it, and because we kind of wanted to move on from it now, didn't we? Really, and then we decided to do this bloody podcast, and then you've got to talk about it all again, kind of thing. But
yeah, but another thing is, I don't actually think you do ever move on from it, no matter how long it's been since you have cancer, because you've always got it at the back of your head. When you go downhill with a cold or something, your immune system isn't the same anymore. So you go downhill quite quickly with illnesses and things, and you just constantly think, oh God, please don't let it come back, or let it not be this again. Or, you know, we had a little blip recently, didn't we, where we had to go and you had to go and have full scans and everything, and the feeling of just having that in, you know, like, I just can't go through this again. Obviously, if it happens, you have to, it's, you know, but the thought of it was awful. But luckily you were okay, and you were just low in a few things, and you're taking supplements now and things, and you were a lot better. But you never get over it. You know, some people say, oh, you know, move on, it's been 5 years. You can't, because it's always there. There's always that worry. It's like the worst time of your life. It's you know.
it leaves its mark on you, doesn't it? Very much
Yes,
so.
definitely.
I mean, what about you, Jackie? I mean, your boys were a bit older when Darren was diagnosed. How did it sort of come about with Darren?
Well, yeah, because he had found the lump in his neck, and it grew quite big rapidly. And I said to him, you need to go to the doctors and get it seen to. And he left it a while, and I kept saying, you need to go. So they referred him to the consultant at Stoke, and the first consultant he seen drained the fluid off, and he said it was just a cyst. But within a week it had come back and it was bigger than it was before. So they sent him to another consultant. So at that point he said, we need to take your tonsils out and do a biopsy. So he had his tonsils out, and he got an infection where they took the tonsils out, and he was really bad with that. He was in absolute agony with that. And it come back that, yes, it was cancer on the base of the tongue. But before he said that, because I worked at the hospital, I'd seen the consultant secretary on the corridor, and I said, oh, we're going to see Mr. Hughes next week to get the results. And she said, I know I'm not supposed to say anything. She says, but everything's absolutely fine. She says, and there's no pathway at all for anything. So we went in there that day thinking that he was going to say, it's all clear. Yeah. So when he come out and said, it's cancer.
Oh my God.
Well, I nearly fell off the chair. We were absolutely gobsmacked. I didn't say that the secretary had said that. I didn't want to get her into trouble or anything.
Yeah.
So my mind just went to blank. He was talking, but things weren't sinking in. And he just said that the treatment was good, but it was radiotherapy. So it was every day for 6 weeks we had to go up there. So he didn't have to be admitted to hospital for a lengthy stay at all. It was just the radiotherapy, which only took like 10 to 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
But it was like he'd only been having it a week or the day before, a couple of days before he started the radiotherapy, that's when he had to have the tube put in his stomach to be fed through the tube, because they said after a while he wouldn't be able to eat and, you know, and swallow any food. But that came pretty soon. Within the first week, that was it. He couldn't eat or swallow, so he had to feed Ensures with a syringe through the tube.
Oh God, are they those awful fruity milkshake drinks or something like that? Oh my God, who invented those? So much shooting.
Oh gosh, yeah. So the tube had to like be disconnected at the end to be cleaned and everything. And I tried to do it, but I was frightened of hurting him, which I think I was actually. So he sort of learnt to do it himself. So yeah, it was absolutely devastating. And it got worse as time went on with the treatment.
Yeah.
It ended up looking like he'd been burnt in a fire on his neck on the outside. And he had the feed in that tube for about 3 months. So I sort of went onto autopilot, really. I'd got no children living at home like yourself, you know, with Amy.
Yeah.
Mine were all like grown up. So I was sort of here on my own with Darren, you know, watching him like suffer. But I just tried to be strong in front of him. But every night when I used to take the dog for a walk, I used to cry as soon as I got out the house, and cry all the way round on my walk, and then get myself together for when I come back in. It was a harrowing time, really. But like Amy says, it never goes away. You try and not move on from it, but you adjust with your life and just hope for the best and live every day, and just do the best you can while you can, really, because nobody knows, do they, like what's round the corner. And touch wood, you know, we're 5 years on. But it was really horrible to see him suffer, because at one point I did think, you know, this is it. He was really, really ill with it. He lost hell of a lot of weight. He was quite big, Darren was, before his treatment, but he went down to hardly anything. He couldn't lift anything, couldn't lift the kettle up, and all his clothes and his dressing gown were hanging off him, and it was just so sorrowful to see, you know.
Yeah.
But 5 years on, we're here, and we just carry on with our life the best we can, really.
I think you do, don't you? And as part of the treatment, it must be awful to see that person getting worse and worse, because they probably didn't look that bad when they were first diagnosed. And you think I think it's sometimes the treatment that makes them more ill than the illness itself, isn't it? Because that treatment is poisonous stuff, isn't it? It's really lethal stuff, whether it's radio or chemo. It's got to destroy whatever's in the body, and they give you as much as they can. And so it sounds like you were kind of really on the limit there with how much you could cope with, if it's close to burning his skin and all that kind of thing. That must be awful just to see him degrade like that. Yeah,
and then it got the peg feed got infected, and he had to have teeth out as well before he started his treatment, because the radiotherapy, and the chemotherapy, it can shrink your gums and that. So any loose teeth he had to come out. Little crack in his teeth. So he had to have those out, you know. So he only had one stint in hospital. He had to have 2 lots of chemotherapy in between the 6 weeks of the radiotherapy. And one time he was admitted to hospital because he got an infection. But all the rest of the time, he was just at home going every day for the radiotherapy. So it was like, whereas like Amy, you know, you were in hospital and you were like really ill in the bed and that, Darren was at home, you know, going through all that. So he sort of got worse, even after he finished his treatment, they said his neck will get worse before it gets better. So it was after he finished his treatment, actually, that his neck got worse. And then the new skin started to come over, and had to put all this special cream on and that to keep it supple. Not good whether it's radio or chemo. The side effects are not good, are they, at all?
They're not good, but it gets us where we are now, doesn't it? And I think that's the thing, and we've talked about this before, that when you go into this sort of treatment, it just feels like, is this ever going to end? But it does end. It does end. And you just have to battle every day as it comes, and that's what I did. I just thought, right, if I can just get through today, that's one day nearer to getting better. And just pick little battles, really, instead of just thinking, oh God, I've got to beat this whole thing. It's just get through today and then get to the next day, and that kind of thing. And before I go on to Kel, you mentioned a point about you had to get on at Darren to go to the doctors, and I think Amy said that as well. Do you think it? I don't know. Do you think it's a male thing? Do you think it's a male thing about getting?
I think it is more a male thing. Yeah. Because I think if more women probably would look into it a lot earlier, but with men, I don't know what it is. They're just they're just too busy working and think, oh well, see how it goes. See how it goes. Yeah, but Darren had he'd had I think a tooth out, and he had an abscess. So he thought that this lump in his neck was from the abscess. So I think he was waiting to see if the lump went when the abscess went,
Yeah, I think maybe that's what we do. I think maybe we try and rationalise it and think, oh, well, I've got a bit of a lump down there. It's probably nothing. I'm sure it's fine. And it always happens to somebody else. It doesn't happen to you. So, and I think that's what I thought. I thought, oh, whatever it is, it's going to come and it's going to go. And we're just very fortunate that. Well, I'm very fortunate Amy kept badgering me and said, look, go to the doctors. And then that one day when I was at work, I thought, no, I am actually going to go. And it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, really.
Yeah. And yes, it's funny because now you've you did delay going to the doctors yourself, Aid, and so did Darren. But now, if there's anything untoward, you're straight there, aren't you?
Yeah, and we're telling everybody else to get in there first. Yeah, it's like, get to the doctors, get to the doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do what we did. Do as you're bloody told. Get there and get it sorted.
That's it.
No, definitely. If I could go on to you, Kel. I bet you're sick and tired of the C word, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, just a bit.
Oh.
But yeah, I can confirm. I think it must be a male thing because Andrew also needed to be put.
It's Andrew. He's in the. It's Andrew if he's naughty, is it?
It's you. It's Andrew, not Andy.
So Callie always calls me Andrew for some reason. I don't know why.
Because that's your name. Yeah, I can relate a lot to what Amy and Jackie have both said, to be honest. Obviously, as you guys know, Andrew, in a way, has kind of been diagnosed 3 times. It sort of feels like to us. First time, I was only 24. Andrew was 29. So, both young. We were living with my dad and my stepmom at the time because we'd just sold our house. And Andrew was fit as a fiddle, bike riding, stupid amount of miles. Anyway, one night, should I say, we were in bed, flat out asleep, and then next thing I know, he's having a seizure. Well, I've never seen anyone have a seizure before in my life, and it absolutely petrified me. So I didn't really know what to do. Thankfully, I was living with my dad and my stepmom at the time, and they come flying in the room. And a lot of it's kind of a blur, you just kind of go onto autopilot. And they took him to Telford A&E, and they did a couple of, I think they did a blood test and something on his heart, and they said, oh no, you're fine, you've probably got a virus, or maybe you you've suddenly developed epilepsy, which I thought sounded strange. But anyway, you know, we rolled with it. But then I think Amy said this, I just knew something wasn't right.
Yeah.
I just felt like, I couldn't put my finger on it, but I didn't think for one moment it was cancer. I actually did wonder if he'd got some sort of bleed, because before we moved out of our house, we had a bit of a party and Andrew had a few too many shandies and actually fell down the stairs.
As you do.
So I did wonder, I thought, oh God, what if he's got like a bleed or something on the brain?
Yeah.
Anyway, it was bizarre. He lost sort of a week's worth of memory. He was struggling to put pieces together. Like his mum and dad were away at the time on holiday and he completely forgot they'd gone. And it was just like that sort of week around the seizure where he just wasn't right. Anyway, we went to see a GP. He wasn't concerned at all, but me and his mum stuck to our guns and we said, right, we'll pay. We will pay to see a private consultant. I think it was like 150 quid, something like that. Went to see him, and even he looked at Andrew, looked at his medical past, which was non-existent, did a couple of tests like, can you push against my hands and things like that. Anyway, he was like, you're fine, there's nothing wrong with you, but if you're that concerned, we'll send you for a scan.
Yeah.
So I think he had to wait maybe 3 weeks, which, you know, was brilliant, but this is 10 years ago. You know, you'd probably have to wait 3 years now with the NHS, you know, with all the backlogs and things. So, you know, at least we didn't wait long. So, yeah, I went for the scan on a Sunday, and then on the Monday, he rings me at work and he said, oh, that consultant we saw has phoned me and said that he's had my scan results and he needs to see me. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you only went for that yesterday. He said, but I've told him I'm too busy at work, so I can't go. So, obviously, I made him ring him back and say, no, we can come. And we sat in a room. And he just said, I'm really sorry to tell you, but we found you've got a brain tumour. And I was, do you know what? I can't even remember then what was said after that. I think I checked out mentally. And yeah, I was just worried. I felt sick. I didn't know what to do. And then I had to then relay the message to like my dad and my mum. And they were then asking me loads of questions. I did too, and yeah, it was awful. But Andrew typically was like, "Oh, it'll be fine," not worried in the slightest. Just like, "Yeah, come on then, let's crack on with it. Do it over Christmas, so I'm not having to have too much time off work." That kind of attitude. But he did. He went for the op, absolutely smashed it. I think he was home within 2 days after having a craniotomy, which is mind blowing.
Is that where they just literally cut it out then, Cal?
Well, so Andrew, when we went to see the neurosurgeon, wanted to know exactly what he would be doing.
Yeah.
So he was like, so how are we going to do it? And then he basically said step by step, they'll, you know, cut the skin, they'll clamp it, they'll cut around the bone, take that bone out temporarily, go into the brain, take the tumour out, and then put the bone back on and stitch him up. Simple as that. And it was, you know, first operation was just perfect. You know, it went amazing. Yeah. And from the scans, so before the operation, he made it clear. He said, you know, there's 2 types of brain tumours. There's benign and then there's cancerous. He said, obviously, we don't know till we biopsy it, but we look at scans all the time and yours doesn't look nasty at all. We would say it's probably benign. It looks like it's been growing slowly for a number of years, and it's just got to the point now where it caused the seizure, hence why we found it. So when he then had his follow-up appointment after the surgery, and they took us in what we call the bad news room, a little side room on the ward. And yeah, they just said that it was cancerous, and they said this loads of strange words and numbers, and I was like, oh my God, I have no clue what's going on. And they gave us a leaflet and that was it. They said, you'll come back, I think it was a week later maybe, and he'd start radiotherapy, and that's what he did.
God, I mean, I remember being given leaflets, and I don't know if anybody else, but I read none of them. I didn't read a single thing. I literally just we went in that room, if you remember as well, Aim, when we spoke to my consultants, and he said, "Oh yeah, there's this, that, and the other," and I don't know what I did. I just said, just do whatever you've got to do. You know, I don't need to know too much about the risks and whatever. Just do what you need to do to get me better, and I'll do whatever I've got to do. That's what I just felt. You know, you don't need to go in here and tell me this, that, and the other. Just get me in there and get on with it, kind of thing. And that's the kind of attitude I took. But yeah, I also made a note of you saying when you checked out, as soon as they say the word cancer, I don't know if you've ever seen the advert on the telly where somebody gets diagnosed with cancer and then they just hear like the sort of the white noise. It's just like the boo kind of noise like that. You just don't take anything else in, do you?
No, it is exactly like that. Yeah, it's almost like I felt like I was going to pass out, that kind of feeling.
Yeah, and just time just sort of stands still, and they're talking and you're looking at them, but absolutely nothing is going in. And you also mentioned as well when you had to sort of talk to the family and tell them about it. Isn't it funny how there's so many people in the family will say, "Well, did you ask this and did you ask that and did you ask this?" And you're like, "No, I didn't think to ask that," because you can't think at the time, can you? You can't take it all in, and you're just dealing with the shock. But then people are saying, "Well, how long is it going to take? What treatment's he going to have? And where's it going to?" I just found it really difficult to sort of, and people look at you and go, "Why didn't you ask that?" But there is a genuine thing where you just become fogged and there's just nothing makes sense really, which is quite scary really, because I've probably missed a load of important stuff. But there you go. So you had it. You got told the once, and then I assume after the treatment, Andy was given the all clear.
Yeah, so he just did radiotherapy. At that time, the standard treatment was 6.5 weeks radiotherapy.
Yeah.
They said that they would keep chemo as a backup plan, which then meant that his treatment wasn't particularly long. He did the 6.5 weeks, and then he needed a good year really to recover from it. So yeah,
would he have had a scan at that point to say it's all gone now, whatever the radiotherapy's worked, or has got rid of the rest of it, or and then you were kind of given the all clear, were you?
Yeah, so with Andrew's, his tumour, where it was in what's classed as a good location, so they were able to operate, because with some, they're inoperable. So Andrew's, they said that they'd got everything out, and the radiotherapy was basically like just to mop up any cells. So yeah, brilliant. We had scans then every 3 months, then it went to 6 months, and then we were just at the 4-year mark, and I can't quite remember if it was before. Oh no, it was after. His brother had got married that year, and he went for a scan before the wedding, and it was taking absolutely ages. I think it took about 6 weeks to get the results, and I had always really, really struggled with the anxiety after scans. The waiting, and he's got a nurse called Catherine who is just absolutely incredible. And I used to phone her, and she'd, either reassure me or try and get his appointment moved forward quicker, just so she could give us a bit of good news. Anyway, this was obviously all before COVID. So we would normally get a letter, we'd go in to see his oncologist, and, it'd be like, yeah, all stable. See you again in 6 months at this point. Anyway, it took us ages, so we chased the appointment, and a letter came through. I didn't really read the letter. We just knew when it was, so the date and the time. Anyway, he checked in on the screen at Stoke Hospital as well, and it come up and it said, go to such and such waiting room, Mr. Bryden. Well, Mr. Bryden is his neurosurgeon. So I looked at his mum, because his mum always comes with us to the appointments, and I was like, why are we seeing Mr. Bryden? We should be seeing the oncologist. And my heart just sank. I just knew. Oh. And Andrew, I remember him at the time, because obviously he was there and he could hear us having the conversation. he said, oh, it's probably because he's just signing me off because I've been cancer-free for so long. And I just thought to myself, God bless him. I really wish that was the case, but...
He lives in another world, doesn't he, Andy?
Say again?
Andy, he lives in another world.
Oh, do you know what? I'd love to live in his world because I think I worry enough for the both of us. Oh, so... Yeah. Oh, and to make matters worse, we'd taken our daughter with us as well.
Oh, make it a family occasion. Lovely.
Yeah. I don't know why. I think we were maybe going shopping after or something.
Yeah.
So we're sat in this room with his surgeon, who is absolutely incredible at his job, but is very black and white, no bedside manner, doesn't fluff it up, tells you how it is. We sit down and he says, hi, Andrew, how are you? Are you feeling okay? Andrew's like, yeah, brilliant, at work and living life and all this and all that. And he was like, well, yeah, your tumour's come back, so we're going to have to do another operation. And I was just like, oh, God, get me out of this room. So I started crying again because I'm a bit crier. My daughter, God, what, 15, 18 months maybe at the time. She's obviously like, Mummy, you okay? And it was just awful. It was just, dreadful. But... because we had Sienna, so the first time we didn't, the second time when he was re-diagnosed, we'd got Sienna. So in one way, it was good. She's a toddler. She kept our mind off things. She kept us busy. And, she gives us reason to, stay positive and look at the positives in life. Because the first time, it was really difficult. And I've got quite a lot of guilt on how probably badly I did deal with it. I was the one sat there crying and Andrew's comforting me, and it shouldn't have been like that. He was the one going through it. And I was just absolutely petrified of losing him. And I just couldn't, I just didn't know what to do with myself. And I went to therapy, work sorted therapy for me. And that was one of the things that sort of helped me through. And then obviously going on to have Sienna and not just having the cancer to always focus on, because it can be overwhelming. And, like Amy and Jackie said, it never goes away. It's always in the back of your mind. So,
and you say the word guilt, and that's really interesting, because I remember when Andy, myself, and Darren met, and we at the session, and I kind of said that I felt really guilty when I was ill because of what I was putting people through, and people jumping through hoops for me and all that kind of stuff. And I felt really guilty, and I think Darren and Andy related to that at the time. But it's also interesting that you say you felt guilty. I mean, what about you, Jackie and Amy? Did you have any sort of sense of guilt or anything like that at all? Because I'd never even consider that. I mean, when you got low or something like that, did you feel really bad and you felt that you had to be strong all the time and that kind of thing? Or
well, I think because I'd been through a lot of things previous to that, like when our 16-year-old son when he was 16, I mean, he's 28 now. When he was 16, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yeah. So we'd been through that together, me and Darren had, with Ryan. And then after that, my mum and dad died within 6 months of each other. And then 2 years after that, I lost 2 siblings within 6 months of each other. So I think my mind has a funny way of working. I deal with it at the time. And people used to say to me, God, you must be a really strong person. But I don't think I am. I think I was a really weak person, to be honest. But because I've been through so much, I deal with it at the time. But then probably 6 months down the line, it's always an aftermath with me. Then it hits me. which is what happened with my mum and dad 6 months after. I thought I was great. I was like, God, I'm really coping with this. Wow. And everyone's saying, oh, you're doing really well. But then after 6 months after that, I think I had some sort of a breakdown and I had to have counselling myself. So I did have counselling. So I know how to deal with it. I try to deal with it the way I've been taught to.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel, I can't say I felt guilty. I think it's because I've been through so much in the past. I just got this strong head about me.
Yeah, and that might be
that's
your
only on the
profession.
outside, not on the inside.
Yeah, so like you said, it might be like your profession and like you were trained because you work in the National Health Service, don't you? So you must.
Well, I suppose I'm working at the hospital and and seeing lots of ill people all the time.
Yeah. What about you, Aim? How did you sort of feel with how you were coping with it? Are you on mute, Aim? Oh, not coming through. Never mind, that's okay. But yeah, the guilt thing was just something that sort of really hit with me. It didn't feel like a logical sort of reaction for me to have.
No.
But I remember Darren and Andy saying that we're having to put you all through this. You're running around and you're trying to keep the everyday life going because you can't just stop and just look after us, can you? Because you've got a job to do. And you've got to go. You've got to go do the shopping, haven't you? You've got to go and do things like that to keep the house going and to keep the family going. And you've got to be the strong one, and you've got to cope with us when we're having crap days. And Amy had to do some quite horrible stuff to sort of look after me at times. And it's just degrading as well. And oh, for God's sake, I don't want my wife wiping my arse. You know what I mean? But it was that sort of point. You're thinking, oh. This isn't fair. I'm really sorry about this. Even when the nurses come round, I used to feel guilty and that kind of thing. And it's just, God, it's all sort of coming flooding back now, really. Oh God, I think I need more. I think I need more counselling.
I think for me and Andrew, our roles the third time kind of did reverse somewhat. So obviously when he was first diagnosed, I never experienced anything like this in my life. I was 24. I no one even close to me had been poorly or died, and it was just so scary and overwhelming. But then as the years have gone on, obviously you lose people and you have more life experiences, and I've done a lot of work, in therapy, and I've got really strong, family and friends that help me. And we're each other's rock, I suppose, aren't we? When you're having a rough day, I'll pick it up, and then vice versa. But then this last time, I remember leaving the hospital one of the days, and I rung my mum, and I was like, I'm just completely numb to it, because she'd always say, oh, you okay? I'm worried, are you fine? And I'm like, I feel nothing. I'm not happy. I'm not sad. I was just numb. And I don't know if that was just the way that I was coping with it and just, tried to shut everything off, because at that time I had Sienna and Roman. I was travelling backwards and forwards to the hospital. Gosh, how many months? Yeah, along, a good few months. I was still trying to work. I was just exhausted. And I think my body then just sort of went into survival mode. Whereas Andrew, because I needed to also do, like you say, some personal care, I had to shower him and, things like that. He then was saying, oh, I don't want you to have to, do this. And he was, I don't know, he just completely changed. He was very vulnerable, and I wasn't used to seeing him like that. So then my protectiveness kicked in, and I was then his protector. And I think, again, that's where a lot of the guilt comes from, because I think, well, I should have been like that from the beginning, but, you can't change it, can you? And
do you think, Kelly, sometimes with you saying that when Andrew was first diagnosed, you kind of went to pieces, and Andrew was like, "No, it'll be okay. This will all be okay." Do you think it was like it affected you? You went to pieces because you thought the person that you kind of depend on as being this really strong person around you, so positive, has suddenly had the rug pulled from under his feet, and what am I going to do subconsciously, like?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Massively. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very hard.
Well, this is a cheery podcast, isn't it?
I know Andrew's looking a bit teary here.
Oh, bless him.
Oh, you're okay, Andrew.
You know what it is? We do talk. We try and talk a lot. You know, I'm a big talker. Andrew, sometimes I do need to drag it out of him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's. I was listening back to one of your podcasts. I can't remember which one today, and I said it's so funny listening to each other's perspective into other people, because I'm not normally this open in front of Andrew because I don't want him to get upset like he is now.
Yeah.
But I think it's, you know, it's good to process it, isn't it? And, you know, it helps.
Yeah, I think that's something that we learned when we was on the course together, because I talked to Jackie about things, and normally it's the same as what you were saying. Oh, I don't want to be doing this. Like Andrew said, I don't want you doing this, and you saying, Aid, about the really degrading bit when you get in the right mess, and you think, oh God, I tried to hide it one morning at 3:00, and I couldn't even get up. I was stuck in the loo on the floor, literally. I couldn't move, and I ended up bursting into tears, and I was just like, you know, like, I think 50 odd years of age, and I'm stuck here wearing a frigging nappy.
I wore a nappy as well, Darren. Don't worry.
It's unbelievable, and I was like, I just felt so humiliated with myself that, you know. And then Jack just come out, don't worry, no, it'll be fine, and everything will be all right, blah blah blah. Don't worry about that, you know. And I knew that it must have really been hard for her, you know, and that's when I felt really guilty that I was degraded and felt guilty that my wife's got to be doing this around me and doing that stuff for me. And I think when we went on to the course together, when we first ever met, I kind of felt myself, or found myself, probably is a better way to describe it, of when I was asked questions, I kind of let little bits out, and I was holding certain things back, because I didn't really want to speak to them. And then when everyone started, I think, doing the same, apart from Matty, Dave was just there, and he was just run away with it, like, you know, and we kind of sort of had to follow suit then, didn't we, Andrew? We just thought, well, we can say a little bit more now, like, you know. But we kind of slowly edged into doing it, and by sort of week 3, that was it. We was just sort of explaining everything, and all the barriers had dropped. And I think even now, that's what I learned so much about doing, is be able to sort of be more expressive and talk about things, laugh about things, and talk about the things that you'd never normally mention to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, we
really
don't
personal things, and it's amazing how some of the conversations that us three have when we've been to the car shows or the hill climbing, that, and the things that we say to each other, nobody else would dare say it to us because they think they're going to offend us or something. And it's like, you know, our conversations do get pretty in depth, don't they, lads? And when we're chatting to each other, none of us, even Andrew said, you know, I couldn't speak like this to anybody else in the family, not the way I speak to you two.
No,
it's done me a lot of good, I think.
Humour's a massive part, and I think if you can take the piss out of each other,
yes, definitely,
and look on the lighter side. I mean, it sounds awful, but you know, you were saying when you were stuck on the toilet and I was laughing, and that, no, I shouldn't really laugh, should I? But let's be honest, you two be laughing if I pissed the bed, wouldn't you? So it's kind of
absolutely in hysterics, yeah, mate, yeah.
but that. When you kind of laugh and you make light of it, we'd casually walk around a car show. We'd be looking at cars and stuff, and we'd be talking about all sorts of illnesses and things that have been wrong with us and embarrassing stuff. And that sort of gave us the confidence to sort of do what we're doing now, really, isn't it? I mean, we're just chatting here and talking about stuff.
Definitely.
And we haven't done it on this big mission to sort of make it easier for men to talk, but it does make it easier if you've got something in common, and rather than just sort of sitting face to face and saying, right, tell me what's wrong with you. It's much better if you're in a relaxed environment, you've got something in common, you're wandering around a car show, and yeah, I remember when we went to the last car show, we had to make sure we knew where the toilets were, didn't we? Because we regularly need to go to the toilet and stuff, and it's just part of the routine now, and sort of stuff like that.
Yeah, that's it.
And we can laugh along with it and whatever. But I mean, I have to say, with the amount of times that Andy's been told that he's got cancer, he's just incredibly upbeat. I just can't believe it. He's like you were saying, Kel. He's just like, yeah, I'll be all right. Oh, I've got to do another round of chemo, and I've got to do this and stuff. It's just, I don't know how you do it, Andy. I really don't. It's just, it's just absolute credit to you, and you just keep cracking on with it. And keep going on with it.
I admire his positivity.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make him cry, Jackie. That's what it is.
Oh, bless him.
I do think a lot of Andrew's, positivity, I think it does massively help. It's rubbed off on me over the years. I try not to, be all too doom and gloom. And you know what? We do have the crack as well, don't we? We have to, I have to pick my moments.
Yeah.
If he's feeling a bit too fragile, I'll go easy on him. But, it's funny. It gives you a bit more, it gives you a different outlook, doesn't it? You think, oh God, why do people stress about silly old things? And we don't sweat the small stuff anymore. We appreciate little things like going for a walk with the kids, and it's not all bad. It isn't. And he's met like you two and amazing people, and it's not all bad.
No,
even though I feel like I've sounded very doom and gloom, but
no, not at all. It's good. It's good to hear your side of things. Yours, Jackie's name is. It's just the impact that it's had on you and whatever. And I was going to ask, was something that we talked about is that when you go through this, you really find out who your friends are.
Yeah.
Just
and the people who I thought were good friends, they just didn't seem to get in touch, or didn't reach out to Amy and sort of ask how she was and what she was going through. And I've kind of learnt now, and I know you've mentioned this before, Darren, is that I'm not going to waste my time with those people anymore.
Don't suffer fools, do you?
No,
definitely I do. Never not. No.
Yeah, was it the same for you as well, Jackie, and Kel? Did you sort of find out that the people you thought were going to be there for you weren't, and then some people who you didn't think would be there were there?
The ones that weren't there, which I thought would have been there and should have been there, was Darren's family.
Yeah.
The brothers, they weren't there for him at all.
Let me down big time.
Yeah,
I mean,
really big time.
Were they scared and worried about? Because that's something we've heard, is that people are scared to talk about it and.
No, they just couldn't be asked, basically, to come and visit him. I used to have to keep saying, "You need to come and see your brother. You need to come and see your brother." And I think they came once, and that was it. Steve
came after you told him to, and when he came downstairs, I was upstairs. I was actually just been up to have a feed with the magic syringe. I've done that, and then I was just having a clean up on the rig and that sort of stuff, and then I come down. That was one of my worst times through the treatment. And when I came walking downstairs, I was holding onto the banister, slowly coming down, and then I turned the banister in his dressing gown, which was my old dressing gown, which absolutely buried me. And I was just like, probably like I just looked a really old man as I come around the corner, and I was in a right mess. And my brother just stood in the kitchen, and Jack says, "Oh, here he comes." And he stood there and looks at me, and you could see his eyes welling up, and I just looked at him and I just thought, too little, too late.
Yeah. So I get it. Maybe after that time, he thought, well, I don't want to see Darren like that again, or see him till he's better. Yeah. But he could have picked up the phone. He could have picked up the phone to me to see if I was all right. His wife could have picked up the phone and asked me if I was all right. And his two brothers could have said, "Is there anything we can do for Darren work-wise?" Because he was self-employed. But no, it was two of Darren's friends that actually did his contract work while he was poorly, so he didn't lose his contract, So
that's what
yeah,
real mates are for, isn't it? Sort of
Definitely.
pulling together
Definitely.
and things
Yeah.
like that. And sometimes you just want a hand. You say, can you just go and pick a prescription up from the chemist or something? And if people can just do that, then they're doing something, aren't they? Really? And but it's such a shame that they can't just, just. I don't, even if they just come to you and say, I don't know what to say. It's like, that's fine, that's okay. Just tell me about, like you said, Darren. Just tell me about your day. You just talk to me. I'm still the same person. My brain's still working.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
just talk to me and whatever. And if anything, we can just try and encourage people to sort of talk more. What about you, Cal? Did you get much support? Because you obviously had a lot on your plate over the years.
We've got a good family, haven't we?
Yeah, to be fair, I feel like I'm really lucky. I've got really good family. Andrew's family are really supportive, good friends. My work are incredible. They're so understanding. The first time, I think sometimes people don't always know what to say, and but then also I was quite surprised by some people who I thought, oh gosh, they really reached out, and that I think that's possibly because of experiences that they've had, so you can relate more. But yeah, I've felt like I've had the support when I've needed it.
that's lovely, though. Yeah.
See, me on the other side, I had loads of. I probably had like 15, 20 other friends who I'd call them friends, but then when I had cancer, none of them even messaged me to see if I was all right. I think one had come to see me, but that out of all them people, I was like, no.
But then, like I said to you at the time, do you think that's because men are sometimes a bit like that? They don't really know how to express their feelings as much as we do.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys do because you've been through it and you talk about it. But I'm just thinking of like Andrew's dad, for example, loveliest man in the world. I love him to death, but he does it in different ways. Like he'd say to you, "Oh, come on, let's go and mow the lawn or something," but he won't talk about his operations or go into detail. Oh, he's getting upset again. He does it in a different way. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Amy with me now. We're in the same room because Amy's phone's playing up, so I've got to be on my best behaviour now. But we were just talking about people being there to support you, and then the people you thought would be there wouldn't be there, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think you do find out who your true friends are. I had people that helped me, or should I say people that reached out to me that I just wouldn't have thought would have ever even got in touch with me. I remember one day I woke up and I went to the front door and somebody had left me flowers, and I didn't even know this person. And it was just like, who sent me these flowers? And I put it on Facebook, and this person said, oh, it was me, and everything. And I just thought, I didn't even know that person. And, they took the time to do that. And that was really nice. That really touched me, that did. But yeah, I think you do find out who your real friends are. I think it changes the way that you see people as well. I can't be doing with, putting up with people's crap anymore. I'm just a bit like, if you want to be my friend, that's great, but if you don't, then whereas before I'd be like, oh, trying to make an effort and stuff. And
yeah, same.
I think you see things so differently. You realise. How do I put it?
I think it's a big eye opener for both sides, isn't it? For the person that the person that's been in your shoes, Kelly and Amy, is the same as the person that's actually got the illness.
Yeah.
It opens your eyes to things that you just overlooked, or things you're worried about, and think, oh, it might be offended if I do that. And you get to a point where the people that haven't bothered with you think, I couldn't give a monkeys if you don't have to see
I think it's like also, when you do things, somebody asks you to do something and you really don't want to do it, but you do it, and then you spend all day moaning about it because you've said yes. And you really want to say no. Well, I actually say no now.
Yeah,
I'm not going to spend my life doing things I don't want to do, because nobody knows how long they've got.
No,
so
that's
for me, if I don't want to do anything, I'm not doing it, and that's the end of, I'll say, no,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it, and that's the end of it. Whereas before, I'd go and do things, and I'd be like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this for this person that doesn't actually really give a crap about me? But I'm one of those people that like to help people, and I think when something like that happens, you think, well, actually, that person didn't even bother getting in contact with me, or, and you think, and then I've done all that for them, and, you see things for what they really are, don't you? And
I think it makes you evaluate things, don't it?
Yeah, and I think you also see life a bit differently as well. We don't mean to take each other for granted, but we do, without even thinking about it. And you just think that person's always going to be there. And we don't know. Nobody knows. And I think that me and Aid, we've always had a good relationship, but I think the good thing about him having cancer, if there is anything, that is that our relationship, is just amazing, really, because you don't take each other for granted, because we all walk around thinking, oh, it's not going to happen to me, nothing, we all think we're going to live forever, and then something like that happens, and it just kind of makes you look at things a bit differently.
Yeah,
completely agree.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if the dishwasher breaks, does it? I mean, before all this, if the dishwasher broke, it'd be like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Oh, for God's sake, and whatever. But now it's like, oh, dishwasher's broken.
You pay for it. I'll be okay.
Yeah, that wasn't quite what I meant. But yeah, but you
the little things in life.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can replace those.
Yeah, because you see things so differently than what they are.
Well, we was totally screwed, Dave, because I am the dishwasher in this house, mate.
Got you well trained. I like it, Darren. I like it.
So if my dishwasher breaks, I can't replace it.
That's what you were more worried about when he was ill, wasn't it? It was like,
I thought, Christ, he's going to do the washing up.
Yeah, don't blame.
Go on, mate, keep going, mate. I'm getting good confessions here. I'm recording this.
Well, I'm going to try and end on a sort of a positive now, because we've been saying about all this doom and gloom and that kind of thing. But so the three of you are married to blokes who love cars. Do you like cars, or do you like cars more now? And do you like the cars that they've got?
Are you still there? We lost you then, mate. Yeah.
Barry.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, you said us three are married to who?
Oh yeah. So So you're married to car lovers. We love our cars.
Yeah.
So are you into cars yourselves? Do you like cars? Do you like them more now that you've been with your partner, or do you hate the bloody things? Go on, Kel. What do you think? What do you think of that bloody Nova?
I honestly have always liked cars. I mean, even if I didn't, I wouldn't have had a choice. I'd have had to learn to like them because Andrew's such a petrol head. My first car was a Nova, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
I've always liked, manly cars, boy racer cars, that type. So yeah, my absolute dream car would be an Audi RS Q5. Audi SQ5.
Ooh.
In the blue, that nice bluey purple they do.
Yeah, like a dark blue. Yeah, I know the one you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd look nice on the drive, wouldn't it?
It would. Yeah. Maybe if we win the lottery.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Jackie? Do you like cars?
I've never been into the classic cars really. I do go to car shows with Darren, and once I'm there, I do enjoy it. I don't like going to the ones where you're just walking up and down the roads looking at cars. I can't do them sort. But if it's a big show where there's other things on, I will go. So I'm not really into classic cars. I do like his Jag, but I don't like the Rovers.
Oh.
I don't like the one he's got at the moment.
He's got very quiet, Darren.
I'm going to go in the other room, mate.
The one he's got at the moment is very nice, you know, but I don't really like when it was stood on the drive for quite a long time, and I used to say, when are you going to get rid of that lump of junk? But well, I'm glad you didn't now, as you well know. But so, but because I mean, I drive myself. I've got a Fiesta, but the favourite car I've ever had was a Focus Estate, and I love the Focus Estate.
Oh, you can get anything in a Focus Estate, can't you? I've got my dad's 3-piece suite in the back of
you can get anything. It was brill. Yeah,
absolutely, and it's a Ford as well, Jens. Yeah, another Ford. Yeah, making out.
Oh yeah, forgot about that, Aid.
Yeah. I just thought I'd remind you on that one. Yeah. Go on the name.
Okay, so when I met Aid, our first date, I'll give you a lift home if you like. Okay, that'd be great. There's my car. That's your car. Yeah, this great big bloody white barge with red mud flaps on it. I thought, Jesus, I hope nobody sees me in this on the way home.
Do you mind? It was a thing of beauty, that was.
Obviously, it was his Manta, and I did learn to love it, I must admit. But I was more into bikes when I met Aid. I had a couple of bikes, and then when I got pregnant, I sold my bike, and I didn't learn to drive actually until I was about 26, 25.
Yeah,
25.
We've been together,
Yeah. So when I was 25, I'd had lessons, and when we went out, I'd drive the car, Aid's car, and things like that. But so one day I just thought, oh, sod it, I'm sick of getting the buzz, and I've got 2 small children and a double pushchair, and I thought I really do need to do it now. So I did it anyway. So do I like cars? Yes, I do. And I do actually watch car programs now. I never thought that I'd actually be sitting in the front room watching car programs. Bangers and Cash when Aid's not actually there. And so that's quite strange. I don't really have like a fantasy car, if you like. I've got a KA. It's nothing special, but I love it. It's like driving a little go-kart. But I don't really have anything that I would say, oh, yes, I'd love one of them, because I'm not really that. Well, I don't really know many names of cars, do I? I'm learning.
No, you see a car and you go, I like that one.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I do like older cars. It's really strange because I always thought I'd want like a fancy new car with all the mod cons and everything. And actually, I just like the basicness of some cars. My car's just dead basic. And the only thing I wanted was aircon. And that was it, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
I just like the fact that it's just dead basic. It's like a little go-kart. And yeah, I don't mind. I think I've got used to the Mondeos now.
Yeah.
And it will be nice when you get the white one finished.
I will get it done.
Because we have had a few projects and they've never been done. And then when Aid said, I'm getting this and I was like, not again.
Yeah.
I said, do it. That's fine. But do it. Don't just get one to sit on the drive and you have people knocking on your door, the scrap man knocking on the door.
Yeah, that's it.
I'll give you £100 for your car, mate, So I do like cars and I do watch programs and things, but I don't really have a car that I'd say I'd want.
No, you do like the Morris Minors, the open top Morris Minors.
I do like them. It'd have to be an open top one, and I do like them.
Yeah. So Kelly wants something fast, modern, and practical. Yeah. Jackie, you're quite happy with your little Fiesta run around, but
I am.
If a Focus Estate came along, you'd be all right with that as well.
Yeah. Can I just say, Aid, when I first met Darren, he had a Rover, a blue one, and he said, do you want to drive this one night? So I said, yeah, go on then. Well, take in mind, I'm only 5 foot. Right. Well, I was then. I think I'm only 4'11" now. I've lost an inch somewhere, but I am 62. So they say you shrink as you get older. But anyway, 5 foot. And I said, right, I'll drive the car. So we went down this road, Corporation Street, which is about probably 1.5 miles long. And there was all cars parked on the left-hand side as we were going down. And all the way down, we could hear dung, 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 dung. I went, what the bloody hell's that noise? And he said, it's you. You're too close to the cars. You're hitting all the wing mirrors as you're going down the road.
All the way down.
Oh, yeah.
Hilarious.
Oh.
And when we finally stopped, my mirror had actually lost about 2 inches in thickness. It was a metal bump.
I think that's what put me off the Rovers, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First date was in one of them.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, lovely. I should probably bring this to a close now, guys. But I just want to say thank you very much for joining the call, Amy, Kelly, and Jackie.
You're welcome.
It's been difficult for you to talk about, I imagine, but there's something quite nice about getting it off your chest as well, hopefully. And
yeah,
if other people can hear, yourselves talking about it, and just they can sort of relate to it in some way, because it sounds like the three of you can relate to each other quite a lot.
That's right. We all understand what the other one's gone through,
Yeah, that is nice, because people try and understand, but you don't truly understand.
Not till you've been through it.
No, definitely not.
And I think you should let us go to more car shows because of that.
You certainly can.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But we have to go for more spa days.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
That sounds more expensive. I'm not sure about that. We'll have to get back on that one. Right. Well, I'm going to bring it to a close. But like I say, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And we're gonna catch up in the future, hopefully soon, aren't we? It'd be nice to catch up for a meal and have a
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, definitely
about
more
positive things and that kind of thing and whatever. And we can wait 3 hours for Darren to finish his starter. We'll wait for you.
Yeah, well, that's
Cheers,
it.
guys.
Yeah.
I can always go up there at first, like we go through. You can just join me. I'll go in and start eating. You can just sit and wait in the bar. I'll give you a buzz when I'm halfway through.
Yeah, but that sounds good, mate. Sounds good.
All right, mate. That's good.
Right. All right then. So everybody have a lovely evening. Thanks for joining.
You too. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for listening to you, girls. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
All.
Bye.
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 You do that.
As always, thanks for listening. If you're able to give us a thumbs up, a like and subscribe, or whatever they do on these channels, we'd really appreciate it. It gives us the motivation to keep going and producing the sort of stuff that we're doing. And we hope you can join us on the next episode. Thanks for listening. Ta-ra.